Have you ever noticed how the minute you need to create content, your brain suddenly forgets everything you've ever known? Like, poof, gone. No ideas, no angles, nothing. You're staring at your screen, trying to remember what your audience even cares about, let alone how to say it in a way that feels like you. That's not a creative block. That's a system failure. Not because you're bad at content, but because you're building your entire visibility strategy off of hope something brilliant strikes before this post is due. And that's exactly where most people get stuck. They know content is the bridge between them and the people who are ready to buy. But they treat it like a chore instead of an asset. Like something to check off instead of something that could be systematized, stacked, and streamlined for scale. That pressure of showing up daily, that guilt when you don't post for a week, that cycle of scrambling to come up with something engaging when all you really want is to go back to doing your actual job. That is the result of building your content from scratch every time without any kind of framework or flow. Because here's the truth. When you don't have a system for content, your content runs you. It pulls your attention. It drains your energy. It eats up hours you could be spending deep in strategy or doing revenue generating work, and it creates this silent resentment. Like you know content is important, but secretly you kind of hate it, or worse, you feel like you're bad at it, which isn't even true. It's just that no one taught you how to think like a strategist before you write like a creator. That's the shift. When you approach content like a system, not a scramble, you stop trying to be consistent and start becoming compounding. Every piece starts to layer. Every post connects back to your offer. Every story has a role. Every call to action becomes easier to write because you're not writing from scratch, you're writing from alignment. That's where scalability kicks in. Not from showing up more, but from stacking smarter. So let me repeat. I'm not just saying repurpose content or use templates. Rather, what I'm trying to say is build a system that mirrors how your brain actually thinks and how your audience actually buys. One that reflects your positioning, leads into your buyer psychology, and still gives you enough breathing room to sound like a human being. Because let's be real, nobody wants to sound like a robot who read too many marketing books, and nobody trusts a brand that changes tone every other post just to keep up with the algorithm. But when your content is scalable and built off of a simple, repeatable, brand-aligned system, you stop second-guessing every word. You stop over-explaining. You stop wondering, how do I say this? Because your voice already knows. You just plug in and let it work. That's the magic of building a content factory instead of living in content fatigue. It's not about being everywhere, but rather it's about being everywhere with intention. It's about turning your content into your most scalable sales asset without it streaming time or burning you out. And that's the unlock. That's how your visibility stops being random and starts turning into revenue.